Praise the Lord. Good morning, church. Earlier this year, I was working on a video, and then due to some technical difficulties, I've not been able to finish the video. And I searched online. Nobody on at least YouTube has any solution.
Until now. So if you're like me, you use DaVinci Resolve, but then you're probably too lazy, or you don't have the time to learn Fusion, or you realize that some features just work better in the Adobe suite. Then you start binging a bunch of YouTube videos, then you find out nobody's methods worked for you because of your HR10 Plus workflow. So for 3 months, I was left with unrecoverable highlights, a bunch of videos saying ProRes, and then a lot of my messages asking, what's the color space transform for ProRes? Because I didn't know ProRes didn't have any specific color space. So to save you all the hassle, I'll show you how I formed a dynamic link between Resolve, After Effects, and Premiere Pro. To ensure total clarity, I'll show you this workflow in 3 different scenarios that includes titles, transitions in Premiere Pro, and finally visual effects in After Effects. And this will talk about lossless formats and why you don't want to use ProRes. Yes, Jesus Christ. So for today, we're going to use 4 different video files. I've chosen these 4 different video files because they have 3 different formats. 2 are HR10 Plus, while 1 is S-Log2 and 1 is regular Rec 709. So let's go straight into it. I'll create a new timeline. You see how I'm trying to group everything in different file structures. This will play a major role later on in video. So let's create a new timeline as you normally would. So as you can see, I've inserted all these 4 videos. Let's check our metadata. See, this is an HR10 Plus video, as you can see here. Then HR10 Plus, this is S-Log2, and this is normal Rec 709. Let's quickly do some color space transform just to ensure that we're on the right space. So with color space transform applied, you can see before afters of each of them. So I'm done with the basic adjustments, nothing crazy. So back to this page, close this down. So you see everything looks usable. So imagine all you've done in Resolve is to cut up some clips, you added some transformation, but then you miss your motion graphics from Premiere Pro or a specific transition. I'll show you how to do that right now. But first of all, let's do some housekeeping. So I want you to go to the folder where you kept all your files. You create a folder called XMLs. I also created another one for After Effects so that things will be easier for me to access. So now you go back to DaVinci Resolve, you click on File, then you click on Export here, you click on Timeline. So the shortcut is Ctrl+Shift-O just for speed and stuff. So you navigate to your file location and then you click on XML folder. Then you change this from DaVinci Resolve Timeline to Final Cut Pro 7 XML. That will be FCP X7 blah, all that stuff. So by default it will carry the name of the timeline you already named in DaVinci Resolve, so you leave that as is. You might want to change this, but honestly there's no point of changing it now. So you click on save and then it does its magic, it has saved. So now you hop on Premiere Pro. Part of housekeeping, you create a new bin and then you want to call this maybe you kind of name it what you're doing. So like for instance, what we want to do now is titles and transitions. This will help you later on when you're handling several back and forths between the 2 applications. So you might want to double click on this so that you can import or control. You head over to the XML folder. Your XMLs are here. You see the folder here, so you click on it, main here. Now opening project main, it gives you some time, it will load up and you have every single file copied over. As part of your files, you have your main. You see this one, main in bracket, they put Resolve. When you double click on this, to open the timeline. And now, so this is your timeline. If you notice, the color gradient obviously did not follow. That's expected. Things look kind of washed out and blown out. So the next thing I want you to do before you do anything entirely, to make sure that these 2 clips, because we're dealing with HR10 Plus here for instance. So the things I need to do is to right click on your timeline here, sequence settings, and then under color space you change from Rec 709 to Rec 2100 PQ, and then you can do auto tone mapping media and okay. You see, change some settings, blah blah. Okay, now this doesn't look like a Rec 709 conversion, but what this looks like is like when we're back in Resolve here without any color space transform. Do you feel me? So it looks much better than having that blown out rubbish that we're seeing just now. So it's easier to work in. So let's quickly do some titles. So for regular titles, what you want to do is, let's say Ctrl T to add a new title. This nigga's name is Nengi. So let's just do something like this. So for regular titles, after you've done everything you need to do, you've maybe changed your font, you've changed your dimensions, all that stuff, you have to render the full section and take it back to Resolve. So let's do that with some transitions. So in between this clip and this clip, let's add a quick transition. So something like this. So this is a transition. Yeah, that's very simple. Very simple transition between this point and this point. So what you want to do ideally is you make an in and out point. That's what I do. So you come to some frames after the transition ends. Let's say shift right arrow twice, then you hit O to mark an out point. Then you move to the beginning of transition of whatever clips you're trying to render. Like for instance here. So you do the same thing here. 1, 2, and in. So now you head over to your export page. This is where you need to pay rapt attention. So this is the default. You have H.264. You come down and change this to QuickTime. Now you go down under QuickTime. This, since the first time you're doing it, you come down under video. Then your codec could be 42HQ. Then you want to click on match source. Then under more, you click on render maximum depth, use maximum render quality, and then finally you come here and change from Rec 709 to Rec 2100, and then you change this from 8 to 16. This is very important to ensure that your colors are still correct when you move them back to Resolve. Save this as a preset. Come here, click save presets, and then you save this as maybe ProRes J Star Films. Let's save it like this. Click on OK. It saves and now it's there. So you can name this file whatever it is that you change. So for instance, let's say I just added a transition. I can just say main underscore transition 1 or title. Honestly, you can name it however you please, as far as you know what you're doing. So you save it in the same look. I usually save mine in the folder. Like I said, everything needs to be in the same place for organization. So we're saving it in XML folder actually. So click save, we hit export. So make sure you click on source in and out because you don't want to render full time. So source in and out, export. So give some time to cook. So it's done. So a good rule of thumb that I normally do is I go to the beginning of this clip and I make a marker. I just write M and I just write like the same stuff you do, like title. Let's just keep it that way, just label it, and I'll show you why you need to do that in a jiffy. After I create the marker, another important thing to do is to come to the beginning here where you created this in and out point, and then you make a cut. It's very important that you make a cut, and the reason is because if you don't do this, when you move back to Premiere, it will bring up an error, and then you have to delete one clip. So it will still delete the clip now that we're going, but we're making sure that the area is deleting is the area that we've already had a replacement for. Do you get me? So you want to slice this K here. So now we've had perfect cuts. So now that you're done, what some people might feel what they should do next is to import this guy here and maybe replace it. You could do something like overwrite, yeah, that kind of stuff. The issue with this is when it gets to Resolve, it causes some problems. I don't know why Resolve does like that, but it doesn't really transcode well. So what you preferably want to do is put this on the higher timeline here, knowing fully well that you actually still need to delete it later, honestly. So let's just put it there so that the file moves to Resolve together. So you click on File, Export, and then you see Final Cut Pro XML here. You click on Final Cut Pro XML. Remember, you save the file like what you did. So you did title, let's do the trans. You click on save. It's come with an error that says possible issues encountered during translation, and that's because of the transition and the title. They didn't translate well. So now we move to DaVinci Resolve. I'm currently in my VFX link place. Remember I told you that organization is very important here. I've already created a bin for the title stuff. So here there's so many ways to import your timeline, but let's use this. So you come to file, import, and then timeline. The shortcut is Ctrl+Shift+I. So this is, you open the place where the XML is, then main trans.time blah blah. So it tells you this is what's coming in. So you ideally want to change this title to what we just made so that you can easily remember. You feel me? Leave all these things as they are. You click on OK to bring up one clip not found, and then you click on no. So what that does is that it will delete the section that is not found. So like for instance, now we look at this, you see that the title first of all did not follow. Okay, you can't see that because of this, but you see the title did not follow. That's expected, so you can delete that. And then secondly, you can see that the transition did not also follow, as you can see, so you can delete this too. So the reason why we created the marker is so that we know where to properly place this file here. So I can adjust this file and put it here properly. Now if I what's it called now, if I undisable it, you can see how there's an issue at the ending. It just like does media offline, and it doesn't make sense to me. But this is very simple fix. You just drag the file down again. It's a very dumb thing. I don't even understand, but you guys should please make a proper fix for this. Anyway, so replaced, and now everything fits properly. So now if you watch this through, a very smooth cut, we have our motion graphics, and we should have our transition in just a few, oh, not a few actually. Oh, okay, so good. So you see our transition is here now, and boom. And to test if things are working, you can actually just like copy or grade from the previous side. Let's do that. So if I hold all this, right click and say copy all grades to copy local grades to remote. As I'm here now, I can right click all this and say remote versions. Let's use version 1, load. So everything loads except for this one, because this one wasn't part of it. And as you can see, Apple ProRes 42 is now the file type. So you can see that under metadata, the file type is now Apple ProRes 42. So you just want to copy the grade from here to here, and that'll be very simple. Apply grade, and now you can see that everything goes well. So it blends seamlessly, my guy, seamlessly. So you see, Nengi, everything is correct. And then for a transition, boom, sensational. We are going to add a Mogrts this time. So we can actually just export this timeline just to make sure that everything we're doing is in sync. So let's keep that down. You most likely won't delete this audio file here, so you don't delete that. So you come down perfectly. You export the timeline again, timeline, create a new bin. So in this bin, what we're going to do is we're going to do the motion graphics. So Mogrts, we're going to use Mogrts for this one, and this one is actually shorter. So you just do the same import again. Now that you've imported, you see only one file came with it this time. So you double click, and now we in. You can do the same stuff I told you to do, which is you right click and change the color space. Now let's add a motion graphic, essential graphics. Let's use one of these from this pack. Let's use this one. So let's drop that above another section entirely, which is here. Let's scale to frame size. So the Mogrts is very simple. Yeah, subscribe, blah blah blah. So what you have to do now is you render in place. Because the Mogrts, you can actually come here and click on render in place. And then remember what we did last time. So what you do is you come here under QuickTime. It's probably QuickTime. You see some defaults here. You see Apple ProRes 42 HQ. You could use this one, but I'm going to come back to why you don't want to use this one. Or you could import a preset like the one that we created just now. So to find your presets, you come here, you go to wherever your Adobe file is located. That's like Adobe Documents. Then you find your media encoder file, whichever year you're on. Then you see export templates. What? Why is it not here? Don't shame me now.
A few moments later.
What you do is you locate wherever your Adobe files are, media encoder, whatever year you're on, and then export templates. You should find it here. So like this one, you can just click on open and then it will import there. So I didn't need to do that. So now this is the issue. If you render in ProRes 422, like for instance here, if I click on OK, let this render. When it's done rendering, it actually renders the transparency as black. This shouldn't be a problem because you could just go to Resolve and do like what's it called, alpha key and key it out. But then we don't have time for that. That just like adds unnecessary stress to it. So now we're going to export in ProRes again, but this time we're going to export in 444. So let's quickly do that. We'll go to export and we're going to make a new preset. So here under ProRes 422, look under QuickTime here. Then here instead of 422, you're going to click 444 here. Then you click on match just like you did before. Show more will be on already. So you render maximum depth, use maximum render quality. This you leave this at this and then 16, but then you add alpha to it this time so that it contains the transparency information. So once you're done with that, you just come here like we did before and then you create your new presets, you save it and you do all this stuff. So I've done that already and here we are. So now you right click, you render in place, but instead of rendering 422, you render 444 plus alpha. Remember, plus alpha. So now when you render, it's carried the alpha details with it, innit? So now you see it's done and then the alpha details are intact. So one thing I forgot to mention is if you're using adjustment layers, it's best you, whatever adjustment you're doing, if it's like an effect and stuff like that, then just do it and export it here in Premiere. But if it's something like maybe like you're doing some transformation and stuff, I think it's best you just do it in Resolve unless you have a specific reason why you're doing it in Premiere, so you export like that. Because if you export the adjustment layer, it might not really translate properly, so don't risk it. And you can experiment it and tell me in the comment section if it works for you. So what we do back like we did before, you click on export. I'm going to skip all this part and just jump back to Resolve. So import the timeline, you select the Mogrts, then probably change this to Mogrts 2. Then click on OK. Then everything should work just as it did. Sensational. Now some disclaimers and warnings. So in Premiere, I advise that if you do any effects on Premiere Pro, just if you render the clip itself in place and you change to like ProRes and stuff, the effect might not follow. So what you do is you just check and see if everything follows. If it doesn't follow, you do what we did, which is you export the full section in a ProRes file and you move it. If it has an alpha channel, you're exporting 444 plus alpha. Then another thing to note is make sure that when you're exporting or translating from Premiere to Resolve or vice versa, you ensure that all your effects are copied properly because you don't want there to be any mistakes. That's why I made sure that we use markers to be able to label each point one-on-one. Another thing I forgot to mention is that in Premiere, when you, let's say you render this clip in place here, make sure that render and replace, you click on next to original media. This way when you're rendering it, you'll be able to find the files easily and maybe delete it later or make adjustments to it easily if you need to. I don't think you need to, but like if you need to. So for instance, now that file is now here rendered, so it makes things easier. Now for VFX and After Effects, this is the most important part of this video, so pay attention. So now you're in Premiere Pro and then you need to quickly do some motion graphics or some visual effects in After Effects. So what you do, now you see this face is so that I just found out something right now as I'm recording the video. What time is this? This is like 2:51 a.m. like April 23rd. Yeah, bro. So what you do is this. I'm going to show you two different methods to do this. One doesn't work for HDR10 plus videos, so let's do it. So some of you right off the bat might be thinking, why don't you just replace the After Effects composition? What could possibly go wrong? Boom, we're back to square one, because as you can see, the clip has changed back to the whole like blown out highlight version. And then unlike Premiere, when you try to come to your settings, to composition settings, you do not have any elaborate color space transformation. You check out your lumetri scopes, you can see that under setting, when you try to color space, you stop at 2020, and that's not what you want to 100. And even after doing that, you still don't, you stop at 8 bits. You don't have like 16, unlike in Premiere. Here under lumetri scopes, you can clearly see we're on rec 2100 here. If you come here, color space, can you see this? And you still have 10 bits and all that stuff, so that's why we can't do that. But it works if you're not using HDR10 plus files. So to the other method, we're going to convert our HDR10 plus video into a lossless format so that we can do all we have to do. Oh, simple, I can just use my ProRes. Well, no, not exactly. Look at this. These two files here are legit the same files, even by file name. So look at this. This folder, this file is 11.17 gig. And then this one on the other hand is 188 MB. And I promise you, these files are the exact same quality. No difference, just that one is ProRes and one is something else. And let me show you that. So in your DaVinci Resolve, the first step you have to do is to remove whatever color grade you've done. One thing you can do is you hop into this place. You might decide to save as many stills as you want. So, but the long and short is you're going to delete every single color grade you've done. I press Ctrl Shift Home, by the way. So now you're done, you move to the export page, you scroll down, and then you see Premiere Pro XML. So you see source name, you can't change this, so you choose where you're going to save your file to. So let's come back here and let's just put one. Let's create a folder, call it 1, and then we select the folder. So now what you do under video is going to show QuickTime uncompressed and RGB 10 bits. So this is what you do. You don't do uncompressed because it's pointless. You're just going to have an unnecessary heavy file. So you come here and then you use H.265. now this H.265 file, you come under encoding profile and then you select main 10. Then under rate control, it's probably on variable bitrate, you change to constant bitrate. Then under this bitrate section, for you to choose what bitrate you use, you come under your original files and look at the bitrate of each file. So this one was about 14 MB, this is about 24, this is about 24, and this is 16. So that means the highest it probably be is around 30. So let's just use 30, 1, 2, 3. That would be 30 Mbps. So that to be above the original file, but then not by too much, so that the file size does not increase unnecessarily. So under audio, you change it from linear PCM to AAC, and then that's all. All you do is hit render. And the beauty about this stuff is it renders so fast. Like for instance, look, the ProRes counterpart of this took about 2 minutes to render, whereas this is finishing in, the previous one I did was 25 seconds. So it's like a win-win for all of us. So that's why you shouldn't use ProRes. So future John editing right now. So it turns out that the bitrate I mentioned isn't wrong per se, but then I realized that if you want to do much more crazy color grades, like manipulate scenes that were once dark to become bright, you need to increase your bitrate. So I ended up using a formula of an average bitrate of all the videos multiplied by 2. So if we're going to say the average of this one, which isn't actually the average, but let's say the average is 30, we're going to multiply that by 2. Or if it was 25, you multiply that by 2, that will give us 50. 30 will give us 60. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you see 30, just change. Like if you see 30,000, you change it to 60,000. Do you understand what I'm saying? So whatever bitrate you have, you multiply by 2. Thank you. Back. The second one is in H.264 or HEVC, which stands for High Efficiency Video Code. So what does this mean? Exactly in the name. It's an high efficiency video conversion code. That's all. So it means that whatever ProRes does, it does it but at higher efficiency, leading to way lower file sizes, and it's faster to decode and encode. So it's a win for all of us. Anyway, enough ranting. Back in Resolve, with what you've done, you go back to Premiere Pro, you create your new you create a new one, After Effects. And then now when you go into this place, you can import the XML file. I didn't put it where I normally put it, but that's a lossless. To be under lossless, we did under 1. So you can import this, and now you have your lossless file. So you open the timeline. The clip you want to replace, let's cut here a bit, and then let's do the exact same stuff. So you now replace the After Effects composition, and then boom, voila. You see we don't have the blown out highlights like we did before. So Ctrl T, we just add a quick title. Okay, it looks good. Now back to Premiere, everything shows properly. You just render and replace like we normally did before, and then you go back to using ProRes. Haha. So you use your ProRes file here. So when you export it, by the time you're going back to Premiere Pro using all the stuff we've done, it's go back to Premiere Pro and to work. So talking about the second scenario, when you've done some effects in DaVinci Resolve. So if you've done some effects in DaVinci Resolve already, then this method will work for you. So you export it like this with all the color and all the stuff you've done. You might not have added color, you might just have done effects. So whichever one you've done, you just export it. So by the time you come to Premiere Pro, you add whatever you want to add, you go back to Resolve, and like me, I finish my color grading and sound design, and I deliver from DaVinci Resolve. So finally, straight to After Effects from Resolve. So let's say you know that your workflow does not require any motion graphics templates from Premiere Pro, or you don't want to do any transitions there or stuff like that. You can just hop on, you extract the section you need as a lossless file, and then you move it straight to After Effects. Then when you're done, back, you export as ProRes and move it back. So it's me again, Future John. So I kind of made a mistake with After Effects. You can't really blame me. It's like 4 AM at this time. But then the point is, the way to move your files from DaVinci Resolve to After Effects, you do everything you've done so far, but then when you get to After Effects, you go to import. That's, you go to file, you click on import, then you should see Pro Import After Effects. So you click on this, it will give you like this kind of old school search menu. You search for your file location where the XML is, you load it in, and then you have the full thing in. So you can as well just put in your full timeline, or like I've done, just like the sections you need. And then after that, almost every time you realize that your files aren't linked, so you click on the drop down menu, you right click on one of your videos, you click on replace footage, then you locate the file in your folder location, wherever it is, then you just import that particular clip. And then as far as the rest of them are in the same folder thereabout, they will all be imported together. Then when you're done, you can now export this. You export it as a ProRes 422 file. So like for instance, you come here, you do the exact same thing, you come down here, you click on QuickTime, you come format options, and then you click ProRes 422 HQ, you click on OK, then you click on trillions of colors, millions or trillions. I think you choose trillion, just have the total optimization, audio, everything is okay. You click on OK, you specify your parts, and then you export, then you import it back to Premiere Pro. You get it? So now for the bonus tip, like I promised. So now we all know what rotoscoping is. For those of us that don't know, this is what rotoscoping is. So you're done rotoscoping, and now it's time to export back to DaVinci Resolve. The best way to do this is to export as a ProRes 444 plus alpha, like we did when we were dealing with motion graphics that time. So you come here, and then under here you click QuickTime, change format options to 444, you click OK, you change this to RGB plus alpha, change to 300 of color plus, and leave it at pre-multiplied method. That's what you do. Then you click OK, and now you export your file, and then by the time it comes back to Resolve, it will come back to Resolve with a transparent background. So thank you for watching this video. Now special thanks to everyone who has contributed to making this video possible, especially you watching this video now. So if you like videos like this and you like the effort I put into it, please make sure you drop a like. If you dislike it, click the like button twice, and then make sure you're subscribed so that you get notifications of new videos like this. So I'll see you here where I talk about how I color grade Acer 10 plus videos. Bro.